All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. There we go. All right, if you'd all stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She would put her on mute, or she might be able to mute, because that's her background noise, I think. Yeah, she needs to put hers on mute.
Hey, Alicia. Yeah. You're getting a lot of feedback from your end. Would you mind putting it on mute? That way you can still hear us. But
yeah, I can do that.
And then when you want to say something, you can take it off. So.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't help that I can't get away from all the people.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I'll put it on mute.
I understand.
Okay. Thanks.
Cheryl, they came through.
All right. We'll go ahead and approve the agenda. Entertain a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next item is the consent agenda. Minutes, district expenses, budget report, personnel report, psych mentor MOU, calendar blackout days, district technology and curriculum surplus, MHS football, volleyball, and cross-country travel, MHS varsity volleyball travel, and MHS varsity boys basketball travel. And some of those were not in the packet, but were provided to you at your seat. Football, volleyball, cross-country, varsity, volleyball, and varsity boys basketball travel. Any questions on the consent agenda?
Nope.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next item is the superintendent contract. With Dr. Reba. You have it?
I don't know what I do. Is that what's in?
Should be
Sure.
Yes, sorry. I read over it, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent contract.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Dr. Reberry's superintendent contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? So moved. Welcome. All right, we will go now into reports, and our first report is the Greater Middleton Parks and Recreation Department, Executive Director, Mr. Tim O'Meara.
Is the one so far. So far, all the way at the bottom. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. My name is Tim O'Meara. I'm your current director for the Greater Middleton Parks and Recreation. We have an agreement with the school district whereby we are leasing the old original school building, the 1870s building. The school district found functional, really. You guys use it for storage now. It's not all you use it for. I think there's still 3 classrooms that you're housing files, paper, other essentials for the school district in. We came to an agreement a few years ago with the school board to lease that building, to put it into functional use again as a community center. And we've been operating it for about 3 years now. I just wanted to bring this current board up to speed so that they knew what had happened in the past with previous boards and previous superintendents. We had a good working relationship with Dr. Boucher and also again with Dr. Middleton and with both of the boards that were under them. We hope to continue that relationship. As you can see, we've invested a considerable amount of money in the building to date. Some of that is salaries for employees, but 90% of it is construction development within the building to bring it into safety compliance so that it was a usable facility, i.e. panic hardware on doors, firewalls where they were needed for separation from the classrooms, whatever it took to make it clean and safe and usable again. I have quite a few pictures of the work that's gone on through this process. If you could scroll me back to the beginning.
You want all the way back to slide 1?
Yeah, go back to slide 1. Community center got started because our board put out a poll to see what our residents in the district wanted. And it was overwhelmingly, well, this is the original building that we've taken over after this was removed. Before there's the demolition, we took a poll and had overwhelming support for it. In that poll, we identified several things that the district wanted to do. First of all, they wanted to know if we need more sports fields, and overwhelmingly 76% of the people said, yeah, we need more sports fields. Our second question was, do we need a community center in Middleton? And 70% of the people that answered the poll said yes. So Parks and Rec entered into an agreement with the school district to take over that building and start making it functional. If you could, please. We currently use the community center for a variety of different functions, all the way from basketball to elections. We just recently started elections over there because it was more functionally usable for the county. We teach a variety of classes. This is one of the doors that we've upgraded. It's a back door. That door was wooden and completely rotted away and chained closed. So we've added the new panic hardware. There's some other things that we'll be doing back there on that little entrance, but it looks a lot better already. We plan to put in a window over the top of the double door this winter. We've replaced the old original basketball hoops, put in new ones because the original ones have been taken down to facilitate a batting cage that was installed in that facility. And that's what it was being used for when we took it over. And the walls are still in very bad shape because of that. Plaster and lath does not hold up well to errant baseballs. It was carpeted inside because you guys were using it as a fine arts center. You were using the stage occasionally. We removed all the carpet and exposed the hardwood floor again, had it completely resealed. Today, we are actually resealing it again to keep the floor up and maintained the way we want it to be. So it's a good playable surface, and added new hoops to it. One of our largest demographics is pickleballers. There is a lot of interest in pickleball. They all want to play all winter long. We were really upset that we had to close the gym for the week because of the resurfacing of the floor, but it does get a lot of use. We've revamped the stage. There used to be a handicap ramp up the far side, which blocked off one entire doorway into the halls. And so we took that ramp out and put in, rebuilt the stage, rebuilt the floor in front of the stage so we had hardwood all the way up to the stage. We took off a large portion of that ramp, exposed the floor. So that's all been replaced, repaired, resealed. And the stage itself, if you could go on ahead there, that's our pickleballers, hard at it. We've completely demoed out the original stage area. When the building was demoed from its original condition, that particular wall was an interior wall, but nothing was done to it to insulate the building at all. So it had a stucco put over the outside, but nothing to insulate it. So we demoed all of that out, insulated that wall, saved us a ton on our heating bill. Got rid of some of the overhead stage areas and just opened up the entire floor and put down a new stage floor. So it looks really nice now, and it's actually getting quite a bit of use. We've had several dance programs come in there and put on their events. We also have now purchased carpeting in sections so that we can lay down a carpet floor if we have a community event. Our floor needs to be protected. That's one of our events that took off. We had teamed up with the Atlas School to bring in this reptile demonstration, which went over really well. Had a lot of participation in that. And then we do our own events in there. Santa's Workshop's a popular event. Kids come in and get a chance to make a toy that was donated by Lowe's, and we get to get our fingers smashed. We completely revamped the bathroom. The original bathroom was not really functional for two sexes. So we stripped out the shower rooms and made it into restrooms on both sides. Put in new sinks, some lighting, redid the floors, updated the heating system, made it a much more functional space. And then the exterior door actually is still usable for you guys as tennis courts, so that you don't have to purchase a restroom now to set out there every time you have a tennis event. You can use our restrooms at our facility. The door's right there. And the tennis coaches know that all they got to do is come over and say something and open that door for them. So we teach Hunter's Ed and several other programs. Hunter's Ed has graduated over 1,800 kids since we started that class. It's coordination with Fish and Game, and one of my spray technicians is a Hunter's Ed instructor. So it's gone really well. We use the third classroom for a game room. We have pool table or a ping pong ball in there so that the kids after school or the adults want to, they can come recreate. We've changed what was a hallway into a concession stand. And when we can get the building away from you, we plan to pop that wall out and turn it into a complete kitchen, a regular commercial grade kitchen, so that we can open more programs such as Meals on Wheels, senior dining events, that kind of stuff. But for now, we're just using that as a concession stand. New double doors at the entry into the office area. So that what was a cloak closet is now our rec office. The hallway's been completely gutted and remodeled. It was being used for storage for quite a while, but we've managed to negotiate our way around that and find other places to store stuff. But we put up a firewall in between the classrooms and the hallways for fire protection as per Victor's direction, our fire marshal. This year we had a little problem with your heater. It decided that it had enough, so we had to replace that this year. It's got a new gas furnace. We would have liked to have put in air conditioning as well, but we're gonna have to get on the roof for that, and that's about $30,000 just for the air conditioning unit, and the roof really needs to be replaced. It's seen better days. When we originally took over the building, I don't know if you can see it from here, but up on top there's another set of windows that go into the gymnasium. And the window sills on all three of those windows up there were completely rotted away. And the water was coming in lakes and puddling in the hallways. It's completely ruined the plaster of lath on the gym wall. So we sheetrocked both sides of the wall, make it look a little more aesthetically pleasing. We do host quite a few events there. This is just some of the things that we've done. Care packages, dances, health fair, paint nights, which were really popular, and Nerf wars, which surprisingly, kids really like to come out and do that. We get a really strong attendance at those. And like I say, that we've put in a considerable amount of money into the building. We're hoping that one day that this board will realize that it's best for everyone in the community to turn it over to us so that we can continue improving it. We'd like to have events there that are not sanctioned on school property, i.e. gun shows, that kind of stuff, that right now we can't do it because you guys can't allow that kind of an event on your properties. So those are just some of the things that we've done in the past, and we really would like to continue improving that facility, but we want to make sure that you guys aren't interested in selling it out from underneath us, that you give us first chance at that building, no matter what. So, do you have any questions for me?
Tim, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I appreciate that because a small piece of my heart goes to that building. I grew up there in all elementary, and I think it's a great asset to this community. And I think it's definitely, you've done some great things there, and I really appreciate it. And I think the community does, and I speak on behalf.
This community has a lot of people who feel exactly the same way that you do. I know my own son went to school there.
Yeah.
And one of your teachers there is still teaching.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been a great asset.
It has been a great asset.
We want to see it improve.
Absolutely, and we definitely, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the board, but you would definitely be.
Okay, well, I thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Good luck to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next report is the emergency operation plan from Fire Chief Victor Salas. Esas. Sorry.
We'll start.
Mr. Chair, member of the board, Dr. Reed-Berry, I think that's right.
Yes.
Members of the audience, thank you for having us tonight. Our main thing tonight is just to bring you kind of up to date on things we've been working with on school safety responses. We were here last year and kind of did a little bit on things that we would like to implement for school safety. We worked with Mike over the summer on some big projects, and we appreciate you guys approving those to make the school safer. I did provide some information to you, and then we have some checklists for you or some information. So On the board, you'll see the Idaho Standards Committee responsible for school safety. We get down to ISCS. That group was formed after basically one meeting just within the Treasure Valley. And this was started by one of the sergeants out of Meridian Police Department. He called us all in and said, hey, what are you guys doing for school safety? What are you guys doing in response to active shooter or hostile environments? Lockdowns, hall checks, evacuations, reverse evacuations. And after that meeting, we found that everybody was doing it differently. Nobody was really doing it the same, and there wasn't a standard, and it was very confused, even from building to building within one school district. And so that one meeting turned into this presentation today, a standard response across the state of Idaho. We had partnership from the Idaho School Board, the Idaho Department of School Safety, all together just really worked hard to come up with a standard response, protocols, and presentations to train school staff. This morning we had the great opportunity to meet with the nutrition services for the school district and give them this presentation this morning. We made it out great. We didn't get attacked by any spatulas or mashed potato mashers, so good. So it was just a good collaboration between everybody. And again, it was about getting actions together so that way everybody knew what was going on. Regardless of what school building you went to in the state of Idaho, when you heard evacuation or lockdown or hall check, you knew what the actions were. And so this is designed from K to 12, and it's very easy to follow. But what it does is it takes each individual's responsibility to make sure that they know what their actions are and their responsibilities. One thing that we had to really notice and focus on is Chief and I were trained for those critical responses. That is our training day to day. And now we're taking educators, we're taking support staff, and we're kind of going, hey, in the event you have to do this, this, and this. And so we realize we have to spend a little bit more training with them because that's not what they're normally used to. But then if you were to give us a room full of kindergartners, we'd freak out as well because that's not what our training is. We've come down to 4 things: evacuation, reverse evacuation, hall check, and lockdown. And so we have a 19-slide presentation that we did this morning, and we've really taken that down just to give you an overview and then allow you to ask questions and maybe some follow-up steps that we will have for you moving forward. So the first thing is going to be evacuation. What that is removing the students and the staff out of the building if there is some type of a dangerous situation. So whether it be fire, a gas odor, in that realm of things. What will happen is the school's alarm system will be evacuated. If there is not an alarm system evacuation, it's just maybe a gas odor, we don't want to set off all of the alarms. We can use the PA system and just do evacuate the building, evacuate the building, evacuate the building. Every signal is given 3 times if it's verbal. At that point, teachers, students, staff will then evacuate to their assigned locations. We've had great partnership with school administrators to figure out where the students are going to evacuate to, really going down on how we're going to account for everybody once we're outside as well. The next one would be reverse evacuation, and this one is that the threat is outside of the building. And so whether it is maybe PD serving a search warrant somewhere, or that there is a badger at Osage Elementary, or up north they have bears and cougars. And so it's the threats outside and we want to move everybody in. In this case, they would announce return to the building, return to the building, return to the building, use their whistles, their horns, whatever they have, or designate the signal. At that point, we would bring everybody into the building. They would go to their designated classrooms. Accountability would happen at that point, report it back to the building administrators.
So the cool thing with these 4 emergency responses is they can change into one to another. So for instance, if we did a reverse evacuation for a suspicious person that walked onto the campus, we have kids outside, we'll want to get them in there, and then we'll want to go into what's hall check. And we use the term hall check now. It's similar to what people used to call as a soft lockdown. But with lockdown in the verbiage, we want to make sure that that's gone. So we use the hall check term. So that's bringing everybody inside into their classrooms behind a locked door, and then the teachers will keep a head count of those students within the classroom. But it's restricted hall movements. All the exterior doors are locked, and the only time that there's any kind of movement within the school is if it's escorted by an SRO or a school administrator. So at this point, this is where all the staff is really at a heightened sense of awareness. If there is something outside that's a little bit hinky, we don't want kids out there. We want staff and administrators really on the guard, watching out for something. We hadn't even been able to present this kind of information in like a month into school last year. The high school went hall check because of a serious call that was happening in the neighboring subdivision. So now that we actually have a chance to, get this in front of not only you as a board, but get it in front of all the staff, so everybody's all on the same page, it helps out a ton. So of course, again, then going into from hall check, we could easily go into lockdown. Say that suspicious person comes into the school, and now we have an immediate threat. Lockdown procedures are for an immediate threat within the school, and that's when we'll want to initiate a lockdown procedure. And what we've been teaching, and it's fairly new concept from hearing what the school had been doing prior to the Middleton Police Department getting the contract, is we didn't really like the way that the lockdown procedure was. So we adopted what's called a move, secure, defend procedure. And we were able to practice that one time within all the schools within the district last year. So basically it's just, studies have shown in the active shooters that in the event of an emergency or an active shooter and kids were able to safely run away from the school, they were all able to be rounded up later and they were all safe. So that's the first option that they want to do, is move and get away from the threat altogether. If not, and you can't do that safely, then the next one's secure. So that would be going into the classroom. Teachers should be grabbing anybody in the that's not secured in a classroom, bringing them and securing that classroom, barricading the door, and turning the lights out, covering the windows, getting them out of view along the wall, away from the door, covering up windows as much as you can to be quiet and hide. Then the next one would be defend. So as teachers, we have the responsibility of all the students, right? So our main responsibility is to make sure they are safe. So there's improvised weapons. Anything can be used as an improvised weapon, whether it's a fire extinguisher, baseball bat, golf club, wasp spray, whatever the case may be, we'll have that there to be able to defend. That kind of thing. Went back and through that. So what we want to do is, with evacuations, there's a state code mandated that they do it once a year, or once a month. We have nothing as far as lockdowns or hall checks, drills. We hope to do it the best we can. So we're trying to make it with each school that we can at least do one once in the fall and once in the spring. But we want to drill that because when you go and observe an evacuation drill, because students have been doing that for so long, over and over, it's repeated. They know where to go. They know the exit routes and everything like that. But as far as the lockdown is a new procedure, we want to make sure that this is practice, because we need to get out of the mindset of, well, if this happens, no, we need to think of when this happens. A lot of people are moving into town. You just never know of who's going to be coming through those doors. And this whole stuff goes right along with what Mike has done as far as, and with your guys' approval of all the security measures that have been implemented. So this year is going to be, it's going to be huge for us, and it's going to be a big learning process implementing this along with the procedures of the new security system. But I think it's off to a good start.
As you can see, we have a lot of agencies that we're represented. If you look up there, you'll see Chief's badge, you'll see my badge, and then you'll see your logo as well. We were your representation, and they're letting you know how we do our drills when we're in the school. Moving forward is, we put a lot of work into getting all this ready to go and out to the schools. What we really need to do is now focus on our emergency operations plan. And I think we talked a little bit about that last year. We really need to sit down and, we were talking with Mike earlier this week, is really sitting down with a committee and re-evaluating each and every one of those. Each school has to have their own. The high school doesn't necessarily have to worry about natural flooding, but Mill Creek does, right? The middle school has to worry about plane crashes because of Hobart Field, whereas the middle school or the high school may not. And so really doing those evaluations, threat assessments at each building. The chief and I are willing to help with that process. We would just like to, most definitely move forward to make sure that what this plan is outlining is matching up with what's in the ERP. And not just that, we have a little bit of outdated ERP. Some people aren't here anymore, homeless need to be updated and so forth. So again, we look forward to really getting out this week and talking to all the staff. I think tomorrow and Friday we'll be with the schools, and so we look forward to doing this. So, any questions?
On the, you had mentioned standardizing names, so the lockdown, health check, evacuation, reverse evacuation. Is that standardized across the state then? So everybody's using the same terms, so everybody knows exactly what you're referring to?
Yeah, so you have the little chart you have in front of you is the standard.
Okay.
And so if you have a group of students that goes to Boise and they hear lockdown, they're going to know what those steps are because that terminology is the same. Or if you take, a substitute teacher, which that's a demographic that we're trying to really train as well, because they move around so much, is that once we teach them, regardless of what campus they enter in the Middleton School District, they're going to know what the procedures are.
So, and it's not only for the students and staff, it's for emergency responders as well.
Yeah.
Because in the event of an active shooter, say it happened at Ridgeview, I'm going to send as many guys to that as possibly can. I'm sure the Middleton Fire is going to be there, along with the Kenny County paramedics. So it's a universal response to any of the schools in the area. So we can go in and it's just plug and play.
I was able to sit this summer, and I think Alicia was there at the same time with the ISBA, and they did a small with the Boise, I think it was the Boise chief, and he went over this whole procedure. I think it's excellent. I love the fact that we can get a committee. I would love to see even a community committee that has some patriots, so that we know, we're in an event that something happened within the community, that people would know what. I appreciate that. The one thing I would ask is, why is it not feasible to do it monthly? Is it just too much on each building?
It is, a lockdown is a little bit more time consuming.
What about like the hall check?
So the hall check is something that we haven't really drilled, so that's something that we are going to try to implement a little bit.
Okay.
We want to at least do a practice, like I said, at least
In the fall,
twice
right.
a year.
Right.
And because of the lockdown, you have to go to each classroom and release them. The only way that you can release the lockdown is if a uniformed police officer is, and of course, we're going to be announcing, we're not going to announce, Middleton Police Department, Middleton Police Department, Middleton Police Department, we're opening the door. Because we don't want to open the door and get sprayed in the face.
So is this something that's just like spur of the moment, or do teachers really know that, okay, today this is what we're doing, so that we're not leaving anybody?
Right,
like,
so the lockdown drills are a little bit different than the evacuation drills. Like I said, because we don't have anything governing by state code. So we do let them know that there is going to be a lockdown. The school administrator should be sending out an email that week that we're going to have a lockdown on this day, and then get another reminder on that day that we're going to have a lockdown.
Okay.
So the lockdowns are very much more prepared than spur of the moment.
So what would you say?
I can't tell.
What would you say? A committee. What would you say a committee would look like for each building? What are you talking like? Who would be on that committee, or what would you consider to be a committee?
I think that, first off, I think you have a school safety committee.
Right.
I would just, instead of remaking that committee, just
Right.
utilizing those individuals that are there.
Okay.
To start off with, and then kind of branching out to each individual school. The lockdown drills we did last year, we're looking at 45 minutes to an hour sometimes, depending on how big the campus is. An evacuation drill, I think we can get it down in about 10, 15 minutes, depending on how the students are moving around. So it really is a big chunk of time. And again, it's a good opportunity to drill and make sure, and we had great feedback from these building administrators after each drill to sit down and we do a quick wrap up of what happened, what did we learn, what can we do better. And so it was an eye-opening experience last year.
So what does this mean for like the families of is this something that could be a community forum, so that parents know like all of these terms and what they mean and be able to maybe talk about them within their own households?
So a part of this is, with this training is we are going to have information to send out to family members, so they're aware of what's going on.
The processes.
The procedures themselves, the down, into the weeds type stuff.
Right.
It is not something that we literally want to send out.
Right, but something like this, is this
Something like
feasible?
that, it's visible, it's in the classrooms, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, they went ahead and they made training videos for each one of the responses. We'll have those within the next couple of weeks. With that, we'll have media and how we're gonna send it out via, media release or something like that at the school district.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I knew you guys would be
Here.
talking about it.
Alicia has a question. Go ahead, Alicia.
What platform, are we using Safe Schools to use this to educate our teachers and stuff? Do we have face-to-face time scheduled on professional development Wednesdays? How are we going about doing all the training and updating and training to make sure that it's kept up?
Yeah, so we've been given, so we'll meet with everybody, or we'll meet with the middle school through 12th grade tomorrow. And then on Friday, we'll meet with kindergarten through 5th grade. And then we'll come back next week on a Wednesday and meet with the higher levels again. In October, we're gonna have a special room up at the high school where the teachers will rotate and have one-on-one time with us as well.
Is this something that needs to be continued training, or do you think once is this constant that you're gonna have to hold these?
I think having the annexes in the ERP
Yeah,
will actually give the teachers, the administrators, the staff the ability to go in there and
look at it, yeah.
And so I think just annually having a training for us to give them is an important thing.
I agree.
The more we train on it, the better it is going to be for them.
Absolutely.
Because this is one of those things that is really, it's nerve-wracking for a lot of educators, is, what if this happens?
It's a huge
Huge
responsibility.
responsibility, and like we told the ladies today, is they're gonna protect their babies.
Mhm.
They're gonna do whatever they can to protect them.
They
So
will.
we're just hoping that we can give them a little bit of information, some tools to put in that toolbox to help. And if it happens.
So are
Alicia,
they gonna use Safe Schools? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Safe
are you
schools?
using Safe Schools?
It's a component of Safe Schools.
With
Oh,
videos?
Did you hear that, Alicia? It's a
sorry.
component of Safe Schools.
Okay.
It's a component of Safe Schools with videos as well that will train staff.
Okay. So it's a component of Safe Schools with videos that they're training the staff with.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Derek, did you have any?
No.
Okay.
It's awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your work. Thank you for your time, and thank you for helping us be
Make it
safer,
safe.
so, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, our next report is St. Luke's MSD Partnership. And I'll let you stand up and introduce yourself, so.
Perfect, thank you.
So
We have
I'm,
three, so the first one was one, the second was two, we have three.
I'm Dawn Callahan, St. Luke's Community Health. I'm Opal Griffin, I'm St. Luke's lead high school athletic trainer and your athletic trainer at Middleton High School.
And I'm Kip Dribnak, I oversee, I manage all of our athletic trainers in all of high school, and collegiate and professional settings for St. Luke's across the health system.
Thank you so much for having us and for partnering with St. Luke's. We've really enjoyed our partnership and look to it growing and growing. And what a great turnout from the community. It's really good to see the community participate. So I'm stepping in actually for Amy Stahl. She was with Community Engagement with St. Luke's. She's now moved on. And Brenda Jones is actually the new representative for Community Engagement. I'm Community Health, and we work very closely together. So I'm filling in right now for these first couple of slides. Okay, so one of the things that we'd like to highlight is the donation of AEDs to 6 sites actually: Purple Sage Elementary, Mill Creek Elementary, Heights Elementary, Middleton Middle School, Middleton Academy, and the district office. So AEDs are a automated external defibrillator that is a lightweight portable device that delivers an electric shock through the chest to the heart, should it be needed. Hopefully they've not been needed. No reports? Good, okay. But it really does make it possible to save a life. And you can use them right. They're automated, so like you're not gonna hurt anyone by accident. It takes you through all the steps. They're really quite amazing. So we were really happy to provide those to those sites. Next slide. So one of the fun things that I was able to be involved with was vaping education, e-cigarette education. And thanks to Mrs. Gould, the middle school principal, and Counselor Teresa Brown, we made a lot happen. In fact, Middleton was the most proactive in providing this education. And I serve Nampa West all the way up to council. So yay, Middleton School District for allowing this to happen. So December 18th and 20th, I gave vape education to 600 middle schoolers. That was a whirlwind. And the SRO was involved in that as well. And we bundled 2 or 3 classes into a room, and each class, the SRO was there to explain the consequences, right? If they got caught either vaping on premises or even in possession. So that was fabulous. I absolutely loved it. And then January 9th, teachers and staff received a presentation by another MSD educator and a respiratory therapist. And then on February 25th, we did a community night specifically for parents or anyone in the community to come out. About 65, I think, people came out and received information on that. So it's been declared an epidemic by the Surgeon General. And harms include nicotine addiction, cancer risks, respiratory illnesses, other health concerns related to heart disease and brain development, especially among youth. So that's why we're hitting it hard. Like countless devices have been confiscated. The SRO just have like a box full. And it's been prevalent at sporting events, in schools, in the bathrooms. And it's really disruptive to the learning environment. So really, again, appreciate allowing us to come out. Hopefully we can do it again this year. Any questions from me on that front before I pass it on? Did anyone attend the parent night that's here? No? Okay. Hopefully we'll have everyone.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to be here to tell our story, because as Dawn talked about, it's a partnership, and St. Luke's is a large health system, obviously, and provides us a lot of opportunities to be able to serve the community. And one of those opportunities that we have is through sports medicine and through athletic training services, which Opal and I do. And so that's kind of been our story. And the opportunities that we have to partner with the communities is we have a big umbrella. We have access to population health, which is all of you. And so we appreciate the opportunity to be able to provide the community approach, which we want. This is a partnership, a give and take, obviously. So we want to continue listening to what your needs are going forward and how we can help you with those things. So go ahead and thank you very much. So historically, athletic training services hadn't been a part of Milton High School. I've been in the Valley almost 20 years now, and I was the head athletic trainer at CUNA High School. We always have the Milton folks come to CUNA. We're in the same conference, so you're always playing us. We're treating everyone at the fields, and I know that the call that I got from your athletic director, Ted Reynolds, was, how do we get you guys to come to our school and to give care to our athletes here? I'm getting called, he says his office is blowing up of parents that are concerned parents saying, hey, we travel to all these sporting events. We see all the athletic trainers on the fields with other schools. What do we need to do to get one here? I said, well, we would love to do that. I mean, that's something, you're one of the largest 4A schools and very successful in your athletics. And it was something that, to be honest, the question I had was, they've been rolling the dice for a long time not having athletic training services on site. I unfortunately was involved with the Boone Bartlett incident at CUNA High School, and it's incidents like that that draw attention to the need of having an athletic trainer on site every day. So from that conversation that we had with Ted Reynolds, it started as, okay, Ted, you let us know, because funding was something that he was concerned about. And Ted fundraised the money himself to be able to have us out there as much as he was able to have us there. And so it was a PRN coverage. It was when as needed. So that first year in 2013, and so we continued progressing. So once we had an athletic trainer out there, people started to understand what athletic trainers do and thought, this is a valuable service. Then it was, hey, well, how about all varsity home events then? So then we're like, sure, we're happy to do it. So we provided an athletic trainer for those events. And then it just grew and it snowballed. So partnering with St. Luke's, not only do you get athletic training services, but you get community services, you get, and Opal will talk about the added value that we can add to not only just providing an athletic trainer on your sidelines, but having additional services that come with having a partnership with a hospital and things that we can do for you. So it progressed, and then we started covering the 1 through 3 state track meet that you guys host every year. Ted asked us to do that, and then it just, we continued, we've been doing it for the last 5 years now. And through Jerry Nutt and Ted Reynolds and now Andy. And then there was an ask for CPR services and training for coaching staff. And so we were like, yeah, we're happy to do it. So then we started covering athletic training, and then we started covering events that you needed. And then it was, can you educate our coaches? And so we're like, absolutely we can. And so it just continued growing into this relationship. Thank you. And then it grew into us, because to be able to have your wrestlers wrestle each year, there's a state requirement to do wrestling certifications. So we started working with Coach Love to be able to provide those services for him. And then it just kind of kept snowballing into support for the sports medicine class instructor who teaches the sports med class here in town, and requested some help from us, because not only were those kids doing classroom work, but they needed to be doing the lab work and the work inside the training rooms for those, and so they needed help with that. So athletic trainers, obviously, us working in the evenings and being a part of your classes, being a part of your sports coverage, we're able to help work with those students. And then came the request in 2017 from the AP principal and superintendent for full-time daily athletic training coverage, which is what most schools have. And so we were excited to be able to do that, to be able to provide an athletic trainer every day, not just game coverage, because as we know, 60% of the injuries that happen in practice. So if nobody's here during those practice days, what's happening to your kids when they get injured? And so we were absolutely ecstatic that it grew into that ask, because it started with PRN sometimes show up to now you have a full-time athletic trainer as a resource in your high school for your athletes and for your community, for your parents. We'll grab one more. And that's what brings us to Opal Griffin. I'll introduce her. So Opal's been with St. Luke's for quite a while. 15 years almost. It brings a huge amount of experience, because she was in a high school setting. And so she's been working with with Nampa High School prior to coming to Middleton. And it's been amazing to watch it just kind of unfold. I call it the Opal effect, because she has this effect where it's earning the respect. It was a new concept for you all. So getting coaches to buy in who had been doing it on their own for quite a while, and some felt okay with that, and some were terrified of that. because what happens when an on-field injury happens? Then their coaching hat is removed, and then they're having to make decisions, medical decisions, that they're not qualified to make, and we don't want them to have to make those decisions. So to be able to see the transformation happen and to see the school buy in, it's been a pleasure to watch. And we do this for 7 other high schools. We have full-time athletic trainers in the Valley, mostly in your conference, the 4A conference. And then we have 20 rural high schools that have access to athletic trainers through our rural program. And so you guys have been fantastic to work with. And that's why I said this partnership has been growing and evolving as your needs have evolved. And so it's just been a privilege to work with you all and to work with your administrators. And I give Ted credit. He felt passionate about this, and he wanted athletic trainers, and I know he had to fight sometimes to be able to get us to go out there and to be able to have us be able to come out to your facilities. And we've just been excited to be here. And Opal's going to demonstrate and show, like, so what does an athletic trainer do out there? Well, we're going to show you. And we're going to show you the value that is to not only your athletes, but to your community, to the parents that is passed on. And so with that, I would like to introduce Opal, and we're grateful for her and for her service. She is the lead of all of our athletic trainers. So all those other schools that have athletic trainers, they report to Opal. She's kind of the one that oversees them and manages that group because she's been around for so long and can answer all of their questions. So I'm not getting my phone blow up every day with questions that they have on the field, because Opal has those questions and those answers for them. So I'm going to just let her take over and show the value that she brings to your school and to your community. And I think you're going to be blown away by the numbers. But again, we're happy and proud of the partnership and the services that we can provide from St. Luke's, not only the athletic training side. I'm proud of that because that's our wheelhouse. That's what we do. But also as a group, as a hospital system. As we are committed to community health, and our hospital system has supported this in our athletic training services, and we're grateful for them for that opportunity as well. So,
Thanks.
All right, Opal.
You can
Can I ask a question?
So here I am on the sideline with the Viking football team. It's been a real pleasure coming into this community. Your children are amazing, your teachers and coaches, I'm not gonna lie, I was very nervous, especially Coach Brock's been coaching as long as I've been alive. So I thought that was gonna be a really big nut to crack, and he is a blessing. All of the coaches have been wonderful. They've taken me and my opinions with open arms, and I appreciate that. So one of the things I'd like to highlight, like Kip said, you not only got me, but you got a whole team with me when I came here. So my full-time status, obviously, I'm at the school every day. I'm there after school during practices and for games. So that's awesome to be there when the kids need me. But also I come with a whole support network. So obviously I have all of St. Luke's backing behind me, but Dr. Tracy Lawyer is a fabulous woman, and I have her right beside me, helping me along the way. She comes to my training room once a week. She comes to the football games and is on the sidelines with me all season long. Not very many team doctors do that. So she's been a blessing for me, and her support team there, Laurel and Lauren, are both great. I also like to highlight that we're a sports team of women. So sports medicine team of ladies. And they support me well. They help me get the kids in a timely fashion. She's at the Nampa Hospital, so she's close. She's not that far away. We're not having to make you travel to Boise downtown to get the support and the care that they need ultimately. I forgot to mention on there, I do have physical therapy support as well. I'm very well intertwined with the St. Luke's Sports Medicine Physical Therapy Residency Program. So these are licensed physical therapists that want to specialize in sports care. So they come and spend time with me in the training room. They come out weekly through February. And then after that, I get another physical therapist that wants to come spend time. So I get another sports certified physical therapist coming into the training room weekly, seeing kids, doing treatments, and not charging anything. So that's really great too. The concussion clinic has been a large supporter. Even before my time here, they've been a large partner with Middleton School District in helping you guys develop your district-wide concussion protocol. So that's something that all of the schools follow. We still follow it at the high school, even though I'm there now. They provide coach education. So they're the ones that put together the concussion education video for all of the coaches. They came out and did some staff education last year. Return to learn is kind of a new concept with concussion. And I felt like there was a real need. I wasn't really quite qualified to explain those details. So Christine from the concussion clinic came out and did some staff education, and I think that really helped just kind of open everybody's eyes to the why. Not so much that you have to do this, but the reasoning behind it, and that makes us all want to do it. So ultimately, it's for the kids, and it helps the kids get better faster. So they've been a huge supporter as well. And then here's the nitty gritty details. So I'm kind of glad that this got postponed because I was actually able to pull 2 full years of data. Doing this in May, I would have had 1 full year and a half of year of data. So this is nice, we can kind of compare the 2 years. So this is the first school year that I was at Middleton High School. I treated 837 injuries, 34 of those were concussions. I would like to say the majority of those concussions, maybe 1 or 2, was managed completely in-house, meaning I saw them. They didn't have to go to a physician. They didn't require a physician's appointment for clearance, et cetera. Total treatments, 1,313. So that's my ankle tapes, my ice bags, my exercises, all kinds of wound care, everything that falls into that bucket. We take those treatments and we put a dollar amount to those treatments, and the dollar amount that we come up with is our lowest reimbursable rate. So the very lowest dollar amount that we could collect for what I'm doing in the training room would have cost the community $44,000 plus. So that is savings to family, school insurance, so on and so forth. This doesn't include time from work, time from school, time for travel. So you could expand that number a little bit even. And then not so much to highlight it, I should have my total referrals on there because a lot of my kids that need to see somebody don't actually end up going to St. Luke's. So I want to emphasize that that's not our point. I don't want to push people to St. Luke's. I'm here to take care of people, and I want them to go where they need to go to get the best care possible. So we got 26 referrals, woohoo, but I took care of 837 injuries is the fourth point that I want to show. So then if you go next slide, it's going to give us this last year's numbers, which are even higher still. I would anticipate this year's probably even higher more. As the kids start to trust me, coaches start to trust me, parents start to trust me, I start to be the first line of defense instead of getting the doctor's note after they've already gone somewhere else. So I like to see this number get bigger because that means I'm keeping kids out of clinics and out of appointments, so on and so forth. So 926 total injuries, less concussions last year, yay, 26 concussions, more treatments, almost 1,600 treatments, and a little less cost savings, but that's okay, about $43,000, 29 referrals. So I'm super happy to be here. I'm really grateful that everybody approved this open, full contract. I also would like to thank the board for approving the multi-year contract. We just signed this last year, so I'll be here for a while longer. You're not getting rid of me. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
It makes a huge difference, so
big time.
very nice.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the partnership that you guys. All right. Moving along into action items. Item 7A, consider approval of easement agreement with City of Middleton, tabled from July board meeting. And, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oh, yeah, except the biggest thing is we don't want liability. We don't want to make, and kind of the consensus. Okay. They all need this. And it's worth something. As far as whether it's contributing to the school, whatever, you know, that sort of thing. So those are kind of the questions I have. I'm more curious on basically what I have to is from the irrigating, get older, how much is it?
That's nice.
It's So if you look at the
You don't want to.
0.423
So it's
in the,
5/8 of an acre, looks like, a little over.
yeah, but 0.6.
Jared, do you have a pointer?
I do not. Do you know of a pointer?
It's close to 3/4 of an acre. So basically, so our fields and everything right here.
Mr. Chairman, thanks.
Go ahead.
Walk through this for a moment, Board of Trustees. This is the second time this item has come before you. Thank you for your time and attention. In 2010, the city of Middleton applied for a grant from the federal government through Idaho Transportation Department to help build cemetery roads south of Highway 44. It was an effort to connect more north-south and east-west roads, and we have them down now. Right now in town, there's only one east-west road, and that's the state highway, which the city of Middleton does not have jurisdiction over. The next east-west road is 2 miles north, Purple Sage. South Cemetery Road on the map, hanging from the wall. South Cemetery Road would leave Highway 44, continue south past Middleton Viking Mini Storage. And then there's the Willow Creek subdivision and then the middle school. So the federally funded portion, the city was awarded the grant in 2011 and contracted with a contractor to do the design. The design is complete. The Federal Highway Administration has approved the environmental study. The funds are scheduled for construction in fiscal year 2020. So that'll be, the state's fiscal year 2020. So that'll start in July of 2020 to start construction. Cemetery Road would go south between, right over the canal and come down here, and federal funds would build the bridge across Willow Creek, which is a floodway regulated by FEMA. The initial amount of the grant was approximately $1.8 million in today's dollars. Remember, that was 2010-11. In today's dollars, we're at 2.3 million because of cost increase. So this is what's called phase 1, and that's federally funded. The phase 2 portion, we originally had thought that it would go down here, but now 8 years have passed and I've found a better route for the road. Phase 2 will be city funded, and that needs to be construction of that portion. That would be within the fiscal year 21-22 time period. So within the next 3 years, this road will be connecting South Cemetery Road with Sawtooth Lake Drive. So this goes through Middleton Lake subdivision. No driveways back up onto the road. It's a collector road that goes straight to Middleton Road. Map on the walls for orientation. The map in front of us is more detailed. It shows two things. It shows many things. I've circled the names of landowners, starting at the far left, toward the top left of the sheet. It says Stephen Lee Cummings. Underneath that, Herbert J. Fitzpatrick, the east of that, Middleton School District 134. You'll notice in the Middleton School District 134 property, it shows in pink, actually all of this land, let's make sure I'm stating this correctly. All of this land is south of this irrigation ditch. That's not true. Because, so the pink north of the road is this portion right here. And it's not all of the land that the school district owns north of the irrigation ditch. And then of course the portion for the road, which is marked here. And then there's that little triangle south of the road, which I've roughly marked there.
So we own nothing where you're taking the alternate route behind that. Or the road, you're gonna move the road to, where it butts up against the field.
It's really hard. You may, I think you own to the center of that ditch. I don't think you own south of that ditch, and I say I think because I've actually never paid attention to looking at that exact property boundary.
Did you go up there?
No.
No. So even though that road's in black, I don't have a design for that. I'm really here to talk about this.
Right. I just wondered what we own up to that point.
Yeah, and I'll bring in a better map next time we'll show. Actually, I'll just email it over to you so you have it. Show property boundary.
The whole thing is 20 point something acres.
The whole site.
Yeah.
One of the things that's not shown on here that's hard to see is that the property boundary is a straight line. I think through there. So that's why my line is a bit off there. But that's why you have some property on both sides of that irrigation ditch, is because of the way the property.
The section is.
Yeah, I was gonna say section, I think it's probably a government lot.
Yeah.
But that's a guess. So the really short is, that's the big picture. This has been a transportation plan component for the city of Middleton since 2006 at least. Federally funded grant was obtained in 2011. Here we are 8 years later, and funds will start for construction will start next fiscal year for the state, and then should take 2 years to complete, maybe 3, depending on when funds actually start. We're hoping the funds will actually be available this October, but we'll see what happens. There are 13 property owners whose property is affected by this potential road. This is along this subdivision. The property is basically the east side of the canal bank that's out there. If you think about it, so it's outside of their fences because it's not used in irrigation districts. On the 25-foot from top of bank space for them to clean out on both sides of the canal, even though they primarily only use one side. As this pertains to the school district, the pink on the image in front of you shows areas where the city is requesting an easement. It would be an easement for space around the road, which has a 10-foot concrete sidewalk on the north and a 5-foot concrete sidewalk on the south. You'll see in that northern pink area, an area where the sidewalk will connect from along the roadside and cross up over into the back of the school site. Those were discussions we had with Dr. Boucher about 7 years ago, 6.5, 7 years ago. If that has changed from what the board would like, please just let us know, and we will not have pedestrian entry from the south. Otherwise, that's what's in the approved plans approved by FHWA, Federal Highway Administration. The actual right-of-way needed for the road and transportation improvements, including pedestrian vehicle, is that number just south of it, 0.271. You see the ROW capital, 0.271 acres, so it's about a quarter of an acre, a little more. And that's the yellow, and the city's requesting that the school district deed that to the city at no cost. The easement area is an additional 0.42 acres, 23. And that would be easement land that would be desired for transportation improvements. It's a non-exclusive easement. The school district would own the property and would give the city the right to use the property for transportation related purposes. That's what the conveyance documents, the deed and the easement say. And that's what's before you tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's the area in white south of the white, or of the pink easement area below the yellow road. And there was some discussion, I understand last time when Becky was here, about does the school really want to keep that, maintain it, or is that something that if the city wants an easement and the right of way, just please take that whole thing and take care of it down there. We don't need a little triangle down there that we need to be responsible for. So the city is willing to do that. I think I've touched all subjects. Oh, and then I've got that in the school district keeper deed. Doesn't matter to the city. Please let us know what you'd like. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
Discussion?
Yeah, so in previous discussions, when Becky was here and stuff like that too, one of the big concerns is we really don't want to maintain any of it. I mean, easement wise, we would have to maintain it. If we give you an easement for everything else, we're still responsible for any of those easements, right?
Correct, Mr. Chair and trustees, you would own the land, and so as a landowner, you are responsible for the land, subject to the rights of the easement holder, which would be to use it for transportation purposes. So for today, for example, the school district owns the property and has a right and responsibility to maintain it.
Right.
Has anybody ever been down there? Probably not. I think I was the first human being that's been down there other than farmers
Right.
for some time. So I hear what you're saying, Trustee Moore.
Yeah, and I guess wanting to deed out a certain portion of it, 1/4 of an acre, and then have easement on the rest doesn't make sense to me, as far as that goes. I mean, if we're gonna, in the conversations, and Kurt's not here, Kurt and I were the ones that went to the city on this, and if, in my opinion, if we're gonna do this, we do it all in one shot. And we do the whole thing, including that little triangle, and not consider it easements or what have you. The city just takes the whole thing.
Assumes responsibility for making.
Correct. Because, I mean, going on what's gonna happen in the future and everything else, even with that new road, we don't know what that is, as far as that goes. And having us come back here again for future and still having to be liable for an easement process doesn't make sense to me.
The city would be willing to accept and prepare for your basically approval. Let me say it differently. What's before you tonight is an action item to consider approving a grant to the city, whether it's a deed or an easement or both. What I heard Trustee Moore say is, let's just do one document, convey the whole thing. Fine, that's a property description that can be prepared. The action item really is though, is this something we want to grant to the city for these purposes or not? And then I can prepare, right now there are 2 descriptions, one for the pink and one for the yellow, none for the white triangle, trustee, that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I can have that property description redone and just attach it to the back of that agreement. We triple check all agreement or all descriptions in the city, because you make a mistake on one of those once or twice. And we've learned that all surveyors aren't perfect. I know that. No surveyors are in the audience, but they'll admit it too. So happy to recreate that. Would like to not come back before you just for the property description.
You just turn it on.
No. Well, and I guess another thing too, I think there's value there. Okay?
I do.
There's, well, that's kind of the big thing we need to determine, that there is value there that could go back to the school.
Okay.
You know, so we've got roughly 0.694, not including the white. So you're probably close to 3/4 of an acre, give or take, as far as that goes. I don't know what that value would be. I know it's not lot value, of course, but.
Yeah, and would you consider it farm value and a lot of it's ditch? Or would you consider some waste value and some ditch value? And then here's my real question.
Mhm.
Taxpayers pay one way or another.
Yeah.
So whether the city holds funds or you folks hold funds, the city, since I've been mayor, has not charged the school district for things or the
Right.
Greater Milton Park, so retired.
Right.
That's why I'm asking for this to be just conveyed to the city. If you folks would like to pay for it, happy to pay you. So noted and so noted. Heads up next time you need something from the city. And that's not me. I'm out in 5 months. I'm just saying what goes around comes around. You folks have been here old enough to know this. I'm just saying, we're here just asking for this. Happy to do whatever you would like. The value we would probably put on this ground is somewhere around $1.50 a foot. And so I didn't bring my calculator. Does somebody have a calculator?
Darren, the one thing too is that in state statute, Title 33 for education school property, Have you looked at that? Are you familiar with that? It does say in there that to convey, except as provided by this paragraph, section of D, bill of sale, and other appropriate instrument, all of the estate and interest of the district in any property, real or personal, prior to such sale or conveyance, the board shall have the property appraised pursuant to this section, which appraisal shall be entered into the records of the board of trustees.
Perfect, there you go.
So then that's statute. Anything that we have needs to
So we
be.
request that the school board go ahead and follow the statute and give an appraisal of this. And we'll just wait for you to send a copy of the appraisal.
We appreciate it.
By the way, good luck. There's not many people that appraise this kind of stuff.
Well,
And I don't mean.
and I mean-
that way.
yeah, we've got to appraise it
I've been working on
regardless.
this for about a year, and it's like, okay,
But I
I'm
think,
happy to do that.
but we'll take a look at the appraisal and then get back. So your timeframe though, in terms of putting that road in and needing this property, are we delaying that or is this something
No, it's
that,
not till July.
okay,
Best case scenario would be October this year.
okay,
And we'll start with the bridge pillars
okay.
when water's out, so November. So either way, I don't think depends on what appraisers are available, but. So if we have 43,560 square feet,
Is that including the white?
don't you think that's about an acre?
Yeah, I'd call it.
Let's- for the
Give or
sake of
take,
discussion.
yeah, call it an acre.
And if we do $1.50 a foot, this means that 560 times 1.5. So the city is thinking that's probably about $65,000 you're asking for, 65,340. And that's why I said taxpayers are paying the same, and.
Well, and we're not asking you to pay for it
Yeah.
No,
yet. We're
I
just
heard that. I'm just
discussing.
reminding you.
We're just discussing, so.
If the appraisal comes back anywhere close to this number, which I think is a generous number, so it should come back at this or lower. Just know that's what we're up to.
Yeah.
And who's my contact at the city? How do I know when you have the appraisal ready?
You can work with Becky
Okay.
and we'll make sure that gets taken care of and
Thank you.
moved on so that we're working with you on that.
You bet. Thank you. And my tone is a little strong, I've been told, so you may have heard that tonight. No worries and nothing meant by that at all. I appreciate the school board. You folks have been through some things that I've been through, and there are people in the community who just like stirring up trouble, and there are some legitimate concerns. And either way, as a decision maker, it's hard to go through. So the longer you do it, sometimes the more stern your tone can be. Like I said, the elections are November 5th. I have 5 more months, and anyone who would like to be mayor is welcome to run for mayor. I know we have a council member running over here. Mark, will you raise your hand? Mark's running for city council. I was going to tease him about his shorts. I saw a farmer in shorts today, and I saw a builder in shorts today. Guess what? Builder in shorts and farmer in shorts, council member in shorts.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, so ball's in your court. We're waiting for word back.
Sounds good. Thank you. Don't need to make an action or an item on that. We can move on, so.
Yeah.
All right, 7B, consider approval of Canyon County L2 tax certification. Cheryl, do you have some information on that?
Correct. You have a copy in front of you. Yeah. So this is due to the county on the 5th. I have asked for an extension that will allow us to get our current average daily attendance to determine whether we have a need for an emergency levy, and the county will extend that to us. So this is our first draft. The important thing to point out is probably on page 2, on the levy rate calculation sheet on the bottom. The district is held at $4.45 per thousand, 4.45 for the last couple of years. With the increase in property values, we're able to drop it down to its 3.967.
per thousand. So on, a property owner, property, if they're right about the average, they should not see an increase. If they're above the average, then they may. But this is a reflection of how much the property values have really increased in our district. We were anticipating over 10, and it's closer to 24%. Also, that enables us, to drop that levy rate down a little bit for the first time in quite a few years. I think that's awesome.
That's amazing.
And attendance, registration was last week. We know that we'll still have kids coming in, and obviously some dropping too that haven't registered. So we really want to play out that last week out as long as we can to look at it again. Last year we did have an emergency levy of $150,000 that assisted with the increase in counts last year. So we're not sure yet how that's going to look, but we'll leave that open as long as we can. So we'll have the final one would be due on the 16th, so it would allow us to bring it back to the board.
Awesome. Cool, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for putting that together. So we will not take any action item on that item and move to 7C.
Actually,
You do need
if
it?
you would go ahead and approve it, if there's no changes, then it won't need to come back.
Okay, I thought you were adding or asking for an extension on it.
No, I asked the county for the extension.
Okay, all right.
So
I take that back and move.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of Canyon County L2 tax certification.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
So moved. All right, thanks. Okay. Item 7C, consider approval of Thursday, May 21st, 7:30 PM at the Ford Idaho Center as the date, time, and location of the class of 2020 MHS graduation. Motion, discussion.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of Thursday, May 21st, 7:30 PM at the Ford Idaho Center as the date, time, and location for the class of 2020 MHS graduation.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Item 7D, consider approval of safety busing and non-transportation zones for 2019, 2020.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of safety busing and non-transportation zones for 2019-20.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 7E, consider approval of annual cleaning and maintenance on band instruments.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'll be quick. I'm Diana Wold. I'm the principal of the middle school. And I want to talk about our music program. The music program at the middle school is amazing. Mr. Ellsbury and Mrs. Hicks are here tonight. We have 3 choirs, 3 orchestras, and 3 bands, and a total of 405 students are in those classes, 40% of our student body. I would like to request tonight permission to go forward with asking band parents to pay a $125 per year charge for cleaning and repairing our musical instruments that will be loaned to the students free of charge. We have about 140 band instruments and about 21 orchestra instruments. They're not all functioning. We have generous donations from parents and community members. And we loan out about 100, 120 of those every year. These instruments have been purchased with district funds, grants that have been written by our teachers and the community. Last year, we spent over $14,000 of the middle school budget to get caught up on all the repairs and maintenance, just to be able to provide the instruments for the school year. This involves cleaning, the pad replacements, repairs from dropped instruments, they're middle school kids, and maintenance to keep the older instruments in circulations. I realize that not all the families would be able to pay this, but we will not deny them access to the instruments at any time. They will always have access to a free and public education in our music classes. Instead, they can apply for a scholarship, or provide service to the schools, or work with us in other ways to compensate for the charge. In your board packet that I emailed, there is a list of 17 other schools in the Treasure Valley that do charge this and call it cleaning and maintenance. The schools are part of the West Ada School District, Nampa School District, and Bellevue School District. And thank you, Mr. Alsbury, for putting that together. Also in your packet is explanation how Mr. Alsbury and Mrs. Hicks teach the students how to clean and keep their instruments in good working order while they're using them for us. So thank you very much for considering my quick request, and are there any questions?
I have, that list that you mentioned is not on here. Did you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
You have that list?
I have a copy real quick.
Okay.
To just kind of find them.
My concern is $125 seems a little high, so I just wanted to see where.
Here's another copy. We're willing to negotiate.
Have you had it done before? Does it really cost that much to have it cleaned?
Yeah,
Go ahead, yes, absolutely.
interject that.
Yeah.
So when the instruments
Mr. Alsbury, if
there's,
you stand up and.
there's a common procedure for cleaning them. That common procedure is 90 to 100, depending on the size of the instrument, be it a flute or a tuba. And then the others are additional dent removal and some kind of basic maintenance that comes along with it. That 125 is a pretty minimal fee.
Okay.
And we do a guy named Brian in Nampa who works with us. That's his rate. If we were to go to the major music stores, Dunkley Dorsey, it'd be closer to 200. So he gives us a really good help knowing that we don't have a lot of money.
Right. So what do you think is going to be the pushback from parents on that? I mean, do you feel like?
Well, we used to be able to charge. We did it up till 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And most parents were willing to. At that time, it was $100 for the year. And it was a hoped for, recommended, suggested. And about 3/4 paid that. A few paid over that, knowing they're helping. Like 20-25% paid less than that, and some paid 0, which we're okay with.
Is there, okay, so you're saying, as you remember from our budgets, we spent 14,000 on this class last year. The year before was 8. So you think that's all you have budgeted for is 8?
We don't have anything budgeted for it. It's just discretionary funds for the middle school that I was able to use instead of teacher supplies or curriculum or professional development. We use it on some band equipment repair.
Is there anything in our budget that we could, I mean, I think it's important for these kids, and it's a lot of money. I mean, for a handful of them, and I really want them to feel like that's not a deterrent to be able to play an instrument, and I know some would never say that they can't afford it, so
Absolutely.
I would so be willing to, I don't know what's in the budget to be able to help them and to help you guys, but I'm all about it. I think it's important for those kids. So I don't know what we have to do, but I think there's some available funds to even lower that cost to.
Sure, if you would approve us even saying it was a $70 fee or a $70 maintenance and cleaning, and then if we could see what would happen.
Right.
And then I could come back and ask the board for remaining funds if we knew what we needed, something like that.
It's important. I'm all for that. I really think
Okay.
but once again, Sharon, can't make the decision alone, but I think those kids, it's any way possible that we can give them opportunities without breaking parents' pocketbook. So.
If their other option has always been to either go purchase an instrument or to go down to the music stores and rent them. And a rental is about, I think you rented one for yours.
And I think some will
45 a
do
month.
it regardless for those that want to do it, but I think the opportunity to be able to give those kids without a substantial amount.
He has 183 in demand right now, and about 100 of them, 90 to 100 will use our instruments.
Yeah, I'm all about. So,
So their option would be to go spend $400 or $500 a month, or $400 to $500 a year on a rental.
Yeah.
Or $400 or $500 or more on the
Right.
purchase. So this is a pretty minimal fee.
it is a minimal
Yeah.
fee, but I think any way that we can help these kids, I'm all about.
Derek, any thoughts?
No, I agree.
I would like to see the district partner with you on getting those cleaned.
Yeah, I do too.
I think
would
there,
love that.
I think there is some need though to have, I mean, we're providing a service by providing that, and I think, you know,
Anything
and if you
lower.
offer a scholarship where they have the opportunity to say, look, this is out of our budget, is there something that we could, you know, a scholarship we could arrange or something?
Absolutely, we would do that.
But I think-
It would be on the form and anyone would just
Yeah.
say, I need a scholarship.
Right, and I think there's a lot of willing people out there to donate a lot, as far as the music program, to be willing to help out.
They've been very generous.
I think it's awesome, and if we can keep that out there, letting them know that this is what we're up against and we need help. And we're definitely, I think, as a board, I think we're cumulative of being able to step in.
Okay, great, thank you.
You want to make a motion?
Sure. So how would we'll amend that?
Well, there's no motion on the table right now.
Okay.
So we can make a motion to help in any amount or to provide funds or do whatever, however you want to.
Okay. Could you get a cost of what you think that total amount would be if they used all of those? We know that at that rate, at $90 a rate or 90 to 100 is what it's gonna cost.
125.
What if we, I mean,
I'm sorry, there's some discussion that it's not allowed to charge, is that what I'm hearing? I'm hearing some discussion that.
No,
Table it, or-
there is, you can do this, you can't charge a fee for being in band.
Right.
You have to allow everybody that wants to be in band to be in band, which we are. But there is means by which we can collect for cleaning, maintenance on that. There is no band, or there is no fee to be in band. So, and that's what the law refers to.
there,
So,
what about splitting it? Who said it's $1.25, split it,
If the funds are there.
if the funds are there. That would be, which I don't know. I mean,
Put the motion.
We'll pay seven,
We can
we'll
work
pay
it.
7 this year if you'll pay 7.
say that again?
We'll pay
Okay.
$7,000.
that's based,
I got you,
Well, I would
That's
hate to
based
throw any
on-
number
Yeah.
in case we have, can we get some kind of,
so this is, we're approving this for next year though, right? Because you've already done it for this year.
No.
they haven't done it.
We had no funds to have the instruments cleaned and repaired over the summer, so we will be trying to play catch.
So what did those funds go to? If you didn't have them this year, was it to teacher supply? If that,
Everything that we purchased at the middle school.
Okay.
Yes, whiteboards.
Diane, can I ask a quick question? Sorry. Can we work together, come up with what it's gonna be and come back to the board next month?
Awesome.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay,
that'd be
table
good.
it.
Yeah.
Table it.
Yeah.
There is no motion. We don't need to take it. We'll just
We'll
move
just
on.
move on.
That's not me.
Yeah. All right. Action item 7F, consider approval of policies. We have 9 policies up for second reading. You want to go through them individually? You don't have really anybody to address the policies. But if you have
I
questions,
have just one question.
you want to-
So on those readings,
Mhm.
would, before, I don't know, I'd like Dr. Reberry to be able to, I don't know if she's had any time, obviously not, to look over that. Is that something that we could, how pertinent is it? I would really like her to look over those policies.
Before we find out.
The only one that we're
Which one do we need to push for?
the student, social media acceptable use policy for students and parents.
And that's just to remove that.
And that one, and the employee social media policy is the newest, replacing that. So that one is the
So
that
could,
we sat down and revised that to be able to utilize our blackboards.
so do you think could we approve it and then ask her to look over it, and if she has any
Yeah, they can all be brought back.
brought back?
Yeah, I did, that particular one you sent me, and I did quickly read it, but I did have a couple of questions that I didn't realize it was up for second reading tonight.
Oh, okay. My only concern is we have athletics that want to start using that right away.
Yes.
Is it,
I didn't have anything like glare.
Okay,
okay, so
Okay.
if we approve it, then you can come back and
okay.
figure it out. And
Yeah.
do it all.
Yeah, we can do it all at once.
Okay, did you have any questions on this?
I agree. Okay.
Okay, so.
I'll entertain a motion then.
Do I remember?
Yeah, read all of them, read the numbers at least.
Okay. Consider approval of policy, second readings of 2435, revision, 3068, revision, 3094, revision, 5000.3, revision, 5057, remove, 5090, revision, 5090.5, new, 5090.6, remove, 5100, new.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve these policies. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Cheryl, do we have any signed in visitors?
They run there, just grab it.
So you want this back?
If you didn't have a copy, you can keep that.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay.
You can send that one to the,
Do you
make sure
normally
the fee doesn't.
call them that?
All right, we have no signed in visitors other than have already spoken. So at this time, we can adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
What did you say?
Oh, on that is an issue for the charging. So we'll have to send it to our attorney to make sure.
Hey, so I got a question for you about this funding thing. So